Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Tougies Take Podcast. I am the namesake of this show because I have a massive ego, and I am joined alongside my two co-hosts on this lovely adventure that we have going on here, Mr. Endo Mills, the pride of Toronto,
Hi.
and the pride of California himself, Mr. California 9 to 5. It's Sin back once again. Gentlemen, how are you? We're a day late, but that does mean we have a heck of a lot to talk about today, and I'm excited for it.
I mean, we're not $1 short, though. So we got that. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's a fact.
And if you're $1 short, you can make sure to get a discount on your purchase at manscaped.com using code Tougie for 20% off your order and free worldwide shipping. See, we always find a way to work these things in.
How do you do it? How do you, every time? It's perfect.
A lot of practice and determination to secure that bag. And if you want to secure your bag, again, manscaped.com. Use code Tougie. 20% off your order. Free worldwide shipping. You can get whatever you need for your grooming needs, whether it be, of course, trimming those pesky nose hairs with the weed whacker. It works tremendously. I have one. It's phenomenal. I recommend it, especially once you hit like 25 and up, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the hell is going on in there?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that continues for the rest of your life. It's a horrible, horrible thing. As well, again, the Lawnmower 4.0. You can't go wrong with the old reliable. For your old reliable manscaped.com. I'm just trying to make these as bad as I can to break Endo. And it's not that difficult. And it's not that difficult to go to manscaped.com and use code Tougie for 20% off your order and free worldwide shipping. A big thank you to Manscaped for sticking with the show. And gentlemen, we are going to get right down to business today because, as I mentioned, since we had that extra day in between, there is a lot to talk about today. Admittedly, there's some more serious stuff that will at least be brought up on the show. I don't know how, much of an extended conversation it'll be, but I think an important acknowledgement is on deck. As well, of course, we have a heck of a lot of hockey to talk about, some important milestones that were hit as well, and some interesting talking points. But it gets no more interesting than this, viewer questions, because I am going to deem this as learn more about Endo and Sin, because that's kind of what these questions are shaping up to be. We'll start off with Dennis. Boys, if you had a time machine to bring a legend back from the past to insert into the NHL today, who would it be? His choice would be Nick Lidstrom. I'll throw to Endo first and foremost. A legend from the past that you could bring back to play in the modern NHL. Who would it be?
I'm a big goalie guy, so I want to see. I was gonna say Osgood, but that's still kind of recent. I want to see Hasek. Just the way that the game is played right now with his style from back then, it'd be very interesting. I think very, very interesting.
Would Dominic Hasek be Curtis McElhinney?
I think so.
McElhinney was kind of the guy, the last one to have that Hasek style of just flipping around. Hey, Tim, I mean, granted, Dominic Hasek still played around the same time Chris Osgood did, but it wasn't that many years later that Tim Thomas won a cup doing the same thing. So
yeah, big inspiration in the crease for me. Back when I didn't know what the hell I was doing, because I didn't really have any formal training. I just went, hey, that guy's flopping around like a fish. Maybe I do that and do pretty well. And it turned out decently. I mean, I do that kind of for a living a little bit now as a rental goalie. So, yeah.
And if you want to rent a goalie in the Greater Toronto area, use code Tougie to get Endo.
Tougie's essentially your pimp
for a
Endo.
solid
Oh my
price.
god! Yeah,
he's your goalie pimp.
that was in the fine print of signing on to be a part of this podcast.
Oh,
just
God.
He's
I didn't even get a contract. You just
we looked at you
threw
and
me
said,
in there.
Yeah, we said you're in. You're like, oh, okay, sweet.
Sin, you're a player from the past, and why is it Jonathan Chichu?
Yeah, no, it's not even that. Like, I don't consider
Douglas
him
Murray?
a legend. Who?
Dougie Murray?
No. This is I'm kind of torn between this. I want
Scott Hannon.
Oh God. He already played in the modern era, didn't he? Oh, this is tough because they're both kind of recent, but I have to do people that I watched play. Like, it's very difficult for me to like be like, oh, this some guy, but like, I'm torn. There's two guys. Can I say two guys and be just 50-50 on them?
Sure.
Awesome.
It's
got to be Peter
No rules
Forsberg
here.
simply because it's my favorite player of all time. It's got to be Peter Forsberg, and the second one has to be Paul Kariya, simply because the game now is designed for him. And back then, I mean, think of all the concussion issues he had. Think of, he's being a smaller guy on the ice. This is his game now. And to not be able to see him in today's game, as good as he was back then, I want to see what he would have been able to do in this era. I think he could have been exceedingly special. Like, I'm thinking Mitch Marner type for sure, but probably better. And I'm sorry, Endo, but I mean, Kariya was just to do what he did at the time that he did is pretty ridiculous. I'd love to see, his capability without always having to look over his shoulder and worry about getting his head taken off constantly.
Yeah, that's a fair point right there. I like the cheap shot at Marner. I completely agree.
It wasn't a shot at Marner. That's more of a how freaking good Kariya was. And I don't think people realize that his career was cut so short.
Very true.
For the same reasons that you brought up Paul Kariya, my choice is Pavel Bure. Same thing.
Yeah.
Ooh. Same exact thing. Same. I mean, the injuries might still be the same, but yeah, I can't help but think Pavel Bure in the modern game. You look at like Connor McDavid's able to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So
let's reverse it.
Good choices.
What if we reversed it? So just a quick to add on to it. Let's say, what player from today would we like to see in like a previous era? Let's say
Luke Schenn.
Let's go back to the 90s. So I think all of us kind of were aware of some 90s hockey. I don't know how old Endo is, but let's say the clutch and drag era. What player from today would you think would succeed back then?
It's the big defensemen that don't fit in the NHL anymore. Yeah. It's Luke Schenn. Yeah, okay. It's Dylan McElrath. It's Eric Goodbranson would be Chris Pronger.
Yeah.
He would be.
That's a good point.
Oh, man.
I mean, it has to be, right? Like the more physical guys. I thought you were going to say, what if Connor McDavid was transported back to the 90s and Ulf Samuelsson would have killed him on the ice?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's...
Yeah.
People would have just been riding him, like literally stick on him, riding him down the ice. Like, yeah. Yeah.
No, I would have hated to have seen like Connor McDavid in that era because we already saw how bad it was for the Bures and the Kariyas.
Right. Very true.
Yeah, it's scary, but I can't help but think that a lot of those bigger guys, especially on defense, would do so much better because that's always been like the talking point around guys like Luke Schenn is that they were drafted a decade too late. Yeah. And, I mean, certain forwards that would probably do very well. Like, I was thinking back, and I wanted to look at, I went to the 2007 draft, just randomly. And, JVR was the second pick of that draft. Yeah. JVR is really good now. Mm-hmm. JVR's had some good runs, but what would James Van Riemsdyk have been in 1995? Ooh. Yeah. I think he would have been, instead of very good category or good to very good, he would have been up there. I think he's one of those types of players. So, but then again, maybe that's a cop out. Yeah. I don't know, just to be bigger players would have had more success.
I think I would like to see the Kachucks, Brady and Matthew back then. They would get away with shit, dude. They would never be in the box, but they're kind of still built for that. Them and Lucic, because I think you'd see Lucic just if it wasn't a speed game.
He does what he wants now, but imagine
you consider that when he was really good was during the transition, and then him and Nathan Horton just completely disappeared.
Oh, Nathan Horton.
Exactly. This question comes from AJ. I don't really have an answer to this, but this is why I said, hey, let's find out more about Sin and Endo. AJ asks, what is everyone's dream car? I don't really have one. I've never been this gigantic car guy. What about you two?
I'm going to go with a really weird choice here. I don't know why, but Mitsubishi Lancer. No, it's Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. I don't even drive. I have a license. I have here it's a G1, so I know how to drive. I just haven't done the test to go actually drive. But just ever since I was
have to because you're in Toronto.
I mean, that's true, but it does help with hockey and everything, going from across the city, around the place, and everything. But
Fair.
the Evo has always been like just a nice looking car. And I know I'm not going to have kids. So I'm like, sweet, I don't have to get a minivan or get what is it? The Dodge, not Challenger, but what's the big fat Dodge? It's like a minivan.
Charger?
Yeah.
Oh, minivan?
Yeah.
No,
Like
I don't know.
The Durango.
The Durango. No, like the Grand Caravan. I don't have to get a Grand Caravan, so I can just go pull up with like my 3 hockey bags instead of a Lancer Evo, because there's a lot of like trunk space. I'm not even a car guy, but this car just looks like chef's
Not a
kiss.
car guy, but he's a van guy.
God damn, yeah.
Yeah.
I am not a car guy whatsoever. I go off leases and shit, and I just want something with good gas mileage and gets me somewhere that's safe, reliable. That's really the extent. But I guess I don't know. If I who knows? Maybe I don't even know. Like that. It's just when I think about it, when I see people buying these like crazy expensive cars, I'm like, for me, it's like I couldn't even do that. Like it's just to me that seems, if I have the amount of money to do that, I need to be giving it to people, like, and giving it to good causes.
Guy.
What a nice guy.
Like I can't. I've looked at it. People getting Lambos. Like, yeah, it'd be cool for like a minute, but then like you just own this car that you drive maybe once a month. I don't know, man. It all seems very, very surface and material to me, and that's just not how I roll.
So you're telling me Honda Civic?
I literally drive a Honda Civic. That was my last car too. 2 fucking leases in a row of Honda Civic. I got a silver one now. I went wild with this one. I got a blue one now.
Oh shit!
Went a little crazy.
Shark's Teal.
There you go.
Oh God! This next question comes from Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. Boys, do you have a bucket list vacation? Because I know what mine is. It's going to Arizona to catch a Coyotes game with Deke Slayer. That's twitch.tv/Deke Slayer. Yeah. No, that's I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of things, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's go see some castles in Scotland. Let's go to Japan. Like all that kind of typical stuff, but stuff that still sounds cool. But yeah, for the most part right now, especially given that it's 2021 still, I'm like, yeah, hey, I want to go to hockey games with friends.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to hop in here because I've known this has been on my bucket list for the last 10 years probably. I want to go to New Zealand.
Ooh.
And basically visit Middle Earth that they have there. They have the Shire there in certain ways. They got a lot of the old set stuff. I mean, I absolutely love the Lord of the Rings, and I love all the lore behind it. And visiting there, not only that, New Zealand is just absolutely gorgeous. The landscape, just everything there is just beautiful. So, I mean, definitely that's my spot right there.
Not bad at all. Excuse me. I would want to go see just travel Canada. Canada is such a big country. I think a lot of people don't really take what we have for granted here, and how much you could go drive for like an hour and a half and you're in like a whole different type of like not like zone, but like different like hemisphere of like different types of nature and different types of things growing. I went to Vancouver Island when I was like 12, 13 for like a youth exchange trip. And it was a big kind of like culture shock because I was on the island and there was a lot more trees, a lot more air. Like the air quality was absolutely amazing. And I don't think that's really something you should be proud of, having cleaner air, because when you go to Toronto, it's like smog and everything. Like when I came back, I was like coughing like right when I got off the plane. But yeah, I'd love to go travel all of Canada, maybe like a whole summer, just going through every province, territory, and everything, just seeing what we have.
Except for Alberta. You can avoid Alberta.
Yeah, fuck Alberta. Sorry, Crash. Fuck
just go to Banff. That's all you need to see in Alberta.
Go to Banff and turn back. Yeah.
Go look at the Saddle Dome before they tear it down.
Wow, wow, wow.
All right, so we know that Endo's going to meet me in the Maritimes, and it'll be a very good time. Speaking of very good times, this question comes from Devs. Why are Oreos better than Chips Ahoy? Endo.
I'm a walking Oreo, so there is your answer. Yep. And only people watching the podcast on YouTube will understand why. There you go.
Sin?
Yeah, because when I bite into a chocolate chip cookie, if that motherfucker's hard, I spit it out. Plain and simple. That's why Oreos are superior.
Have you
delved into the world of chewy Chips Ahoy?
No. because if I'm gonna have a chewy, I don't know. Maybe I need to try it. However, Oreos are also it's an experience. You can eat it, so many different ways. You can tear it apart. You can just bite into it. You can lick the cream off.
20% off of your order of Oreos.
Yeah, speaking of
I
which,
mean, that's a good sales pitch.
mentioning
God.
brands.
Are you trying to sell me on Oreos like a wine connoisseur, like a sommelier? Like you lick enjoy, like you savor the
cream.
I always do.
Yeah.
Last question here comes from Hawks. Which video game that is coming out has you hyped up the most? I would have said NASCAR before it was revealed to be this buggy, horrific mess of a game. My God. And then I would have said Battlefield, but the beta was a buggy, horrific mess of a game.
My God.
I don't think there's anything coming out at the end of the year now where I'm like, yep, I'm hyped for that. Unless they suddenly were like, hey, God of War is done 2 years ahead of schedule, and it's amazing. That would be nice. But, yeah, boys, anything come to mind for you?
The leaders in the pits, the leaders in the pits. Oh, my God. Just I think back on the Tougie thing about NASCAR, if people aren't aware about how buggy the game is apparently in the beta state, someone was live streaming the NASCAR game and got caught in a soft lock for like 5-6 hours of it just saying the leaders in the pits. And how the leader's constantly in the pits for while doing the pit change. It was just unbearable. Yeah. Anyways, my game of choice is NHL 22 update. That's it. Just the rest of the game. Just the rest of the game. Just please.
Oh man.
Rammer, please. We need this. Come on. Y'all ain't doing nothing in fucking Vancouver. There's nothing in Vancouver to do. Come on. Let's be real.
Eat sushi.
Okay, and developed. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Y'all got a lot of time. Y'all are sitting at home. It's fine. Joking.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember the timeline on them, but for sure, I loved the first Dying Light game.
Oh
so I'm wondering how. I'm kind of curious how long it's taken a while to develop this second one. I'm looking at the trailer hasn't sold me. They captured lightning and bought it with the first one. I don't know what they're doing, what's new. I haven't heard much about it. I haven't kept up with it. Let's be real. I really don't keep up with games as much as I used to, but that one I'm hyped about. And also, again, I don't know the timeline on this one. It could be getting pushed back or whatever, but Total War Warhammer 3, because I'm a massive, massive Warhammer nerd, and I literally almost have 2,000 hours on Total War Warhammer 2 on Steam. So yeah, safe to say when the third one comes out, I will be playing the crap out of it.
So there you go, everybody. Learning more about Sin and Endo, you can continue to do so. You can ask your own questions. Again, as always, I post up a thread on Twitter that's @Tougie24 before every show. And if you're on the Discord channel as well, there is a podcast questions segment. With that, boys, again, we have a lot to talk about in terms of actual hockey. However, there are two more negative notes here that, again, we'd be remiss to not at least acknowledge because, again, while I certainly wish hockey could be all positive all the time, if this year has shown anything, that is absolutely not the case. Sin and I were able to mention this on a show last week in terms of talking about the greatest goal scorers of all time. Right, we mentioned here's Ovi and Gretzky, at 3 and 4, but who were the top two? Number 2 was Mario Lemieux, and of course number 1 in terms of goals for per game as an individual player is Mike Bossy. And unfortunately, he announced at the beginning of this week that he is currently battling lung cancer. So our best wishes to who, for my money, is the greatest goal scorer in NHL history. I love Alex Ovechkin, but man, you want to talk about a guy where it's like, what would he do in the modern day?
Oh, yeah.
Mike Bossy. He put up goal scoring numbers like that at a time where, sure, you had the greats still being able to do it, but what would he have been able to do in the modern game? It's always going to be a question. So best wishes to him. And the other subject as well, absolutely sucks. And when the passing was announced, on this show, there wasn't really any speculation because it wouldn't have been fair. But of course, it was confirmed that Jimmy Hayes passed away with cocaine and fentanyl in his system. It was then announced by his father that it was known that he had had a drug issue for a while. And the reason why, it's worth bringing it up on this show is we are very recently in the aftermath of Robin Lehner bringing up, and being very vocal about his issues and what he feels needs to change about the NHL and how they conduct themselves in terms of helping players with substance abuse issues. And then in the aftermath of this too, you also had Derek Bogard's father come out and say, hey, we're 10 years removed from this and it doesn't look like much has changed in terms of helping a lot of these guys. And obviously, this year is 2011 was a horrible year in the hockey world in terms of loss. Obviously you had, say, the locomotive plane crash, which was obviously an entirely different thing, but you had the passings of Derek Bogard, Rick Rippon, Wade Belak. And, 10 years on from incidents like that, you would hope to see more change than what we've seen. And, unfortunately, it often does seem like it takes incidents like this and like the passing of a very beloved person such as Jimmy Hayes to maybe finally get some of that change going. And I think we're seeing a lot of that in, professional sports. There's a lot going on right now on a lot of different topics in terms of trying to instill a lot of change. And, hopefully, it likely will not be, but hopefully this is the start of something more positive and some real change within the NHL. And again, to Jimmy Hayes' family, it's still just an absolute tragedy, obviously. Boys, I can leave it at that. If you want me to, we can move on to the hockey. But again, it was something that needed to be brought up.
Well, I mean, there's a few other names that maybe who hadn't, passed because of it, who are now coming out and speaking on me. And obviously, there's Daniel Carcillo, who's been very vocal about mainly most of the culture that happens in hockey that leads to things like this. And I think that's just as important as, the issues themselves or, some of the symptoms of these, I guess we can call them diseases plaguing the NHL and hockey culture in general. Also, Ryan Kessler came out and talked about the culture of giving players painkillers and how it was certain, I forget the exact name of the one that was given to him, but like it would, it actually created like some like holes and like lesions in his intestines and colon and stuff like that from use of it. And it's just really dangerous stuff to be messing with that. And again, it's like, I don't think the NHL is really done enough to change that in some regard. They've done some things, but it seems like very much on the surface. And if you're only attacking on the surface, you're not addressing the root of the issues. So really hope that we can sort of, help just talk about it and get more people talking about it and force the NHL to take, some action, which will result in, lasting change.
Yeah, I completely agree. To touch on what he said about Kessler was taking Toradol, which was something not approved for long-term use. And he developed colitis, like a disease that causes like inflammation and stuff in ulcers in the digestive tract. That's terrible. Imagine like what other people are possibly dealing with. And it really makes you think like how many more have to go through stuff like this until the NHL has to do something like that. It shouldn't even be like any more people have to deal with this. It should be done with back then, not even today. It should have been done years ago when all this first started coming up and everything. And that's why I'm still going to be a proponent for players speaking up about things they don't feel is right or things that aren't safe. Use your voice. Use the platform that you have to speak up and say certain things, because I feel like you should be able to say whatever your opinion is, no matter what it is, or no matter how offensive it could be to someone else. You should feel the right to speak out about it and have discussion about why you feel a certain way. That's the way I see it. And shoot me if I'm wrong.
So with that, we'll move on. We have about 5 days worth of hockey stories and coverage to get to, and it feels like it was forever ago, but I want to bring us back to last Friday, which was highlighted by two incidents in particular. The Canucks beat the Flyers 5-4 in a shootout. That was highlighted by Vasily Podkolzin's first NHL goal, and that's going to be a theme throughout us talking about the hockey that's gone on. There have been a lot of guys getting their first NHL goals, and we talked about it in our season previews, how crazy this rookie race could be, and Vasily Podkolzin made his name well known. But the main thing that happened on Friday, the New Jersey Devils beat the Chicago Blackhawks 4-3 in overtime. This is the game where Jack Hughes threw his stick over the glass like immediately after scoring. Looked like he, tried to throw it to a specific person, probably a kid to celebrate. I have no issue with this whatsoever, but of course some people did.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. Oh, of course. Of course, some people had an issue with it. I mean, I thought it was awesome. It was a great moment. And while, at the moment, I think there was some injury worries about Jack Hughes after a particular game. I don't know if there's any update about that. I'm actually trying to look it up right now. It's been really nice to see Jack Hughes, kind of turn the corner after a bit of a slow start. I mean, the hype level around Jack Hughes and Capo Caco, being the 1-2 in that particular draft, it had kind of fallen off a little bit. And no, Jack Hughes, he's starting to turn into that player that you would expect him to be.
If I were anyone, I'd be more worried about Capo Caco, because for Hughes, he's broke into the league. Usually if you draft a center, oftentimes you break him in on the wing. Jack Hughes, came out and they broke him in at center. That's incredibly tough to start in the NHL as a center. That is one of the toughest positions, and he did it, from the get-go. So it's great to see him kind of, really getting his confidence going, starting to produce. You get that confidence up. I mean, throwing the stick into the stands, like, it's great to see. Again, it's people having fun, it's entertainment value, and it's, for Jack Hughes, you can really see him getting his confidence level up as well. And another kind of note on that thing, they'd asked him, I think because after that game, his brother, Luke, scored his first collegiate goal as well, and they asked, Jack about that, and you could just see, like, how excited he was. I mean, the Devils, you got to be able to see that light at the end of the tunnel now, especially with some of the other guys coming in the pipeline. I think it's a very exciting time in New Jersey.
Yeah, 100% completely agree. I'm glad that what's Jack Hughes, a.k.a. Given the nickname from Tiki Subban. Now it's Gentleman's Jack before you speak Little Jizzy. What a nickname. Little Jizzy.
Little Jizzy. God damn.
That was an absolute great goal. Great play, honestly. To wait out the defenseman, have Patrick Kane sitting on the the red line, and just had him like held out completely. Man, I think everyone who has a complaint about the celebration, the future is now, old man. This is the new friend. This is the new future. This is the new normal. This is the new NHL. People are going to be more creative. They're going to do more things with celebrations. They're just having fun. Be creative, have fun.
You look at the biggest complaint with the NFL right now, and it's the thought of like taunting penalties have been a lot more persistent this year. Mm-hmm. The main topic of discussion, I feel like, with the NFL, aside from garbage officiating, would have to be the suppression of personalities. You might not want to go full Ocho Cinco or Terrell Owens with it, I don't know if you necessarily want to do that. I thought it was entertaining as hell. I mean, come on, who didn't love Terrell Owens going to the center of, Cowboy Stadium and dancing on the logo and someone pushing him off of it? That is incredible entertainment.
That's hilarious.
And again, like, you don't have to go that way completely. Like, I don't know if I want to see Jack Hughes score a goal, skate over to the bench, and put on a funny hat. Although now that I say it, maybe I do.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with them, though, right? It's more of the idea of let these people actually showcase their personalities, and especially you'd think with ESPN now having rights to it in the U.S., like that's got to be more of a thing. And I feel like we have seen a lot of the old guard, Don Cherry, and types like him get pushed to the wayside to say, hey, this is a new era at this stage. We are moving on. Yeah. And it's only good for the game, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, people need to make up their mind, because I feel like the Venn diagram of people upset that the NFL is not allowing people to taunt or celebrate would be probably very similar to the people who think, the NHL is over celebrating. These are people, some of them are people that just are going to find something to complain about no matter what. Mm-hmm. No matter what. They want to be angry at something. They have to find something. And that's the case for a lot of the old school NHL fans who bitch and moan about how the game isn't what it used to be. It's like, that happens. It's evolution. It's natural. Either adjust with it, enjoy the product, and stop being angry about it, or whatever. Be mad, cope and seethe and whatever. But yeah, I don't understand everyone getting angry at these weird little things. It's like, these people are human. Let them be human. Let them do their thing. As long as it's not disrupting game flow, what the hell do we care?
Yeah. NFL is the no fun league, so, you know.
Yep.
And the XFL was the extra fun league for one season, both times.
Oh, I'm so sad. COVID screwed that up. That was such a good comeback.
Save us, Dwayne.
Yeah.
Save us, Dwayne. Bring it back.
If you submit.
Future president.
Yeah, I just heard he was going to run for president. I'm like, okay.
All right.
Why not?
It'll work.
Why the hell not? I want to hear his platform. That's all I care about. I'm like, I don't care who it is. Just let me hear the platform.
We move ahead to Saturday night, last Saturday night, highlighted by the Florida Panthers absolutely pooping on the New York Islanders 5-1. Sam Bennett had a hat trick in that game. That's a pretty good start after getting a contract that a lot of people view as a little bit much. Yeah. So the Sam Bennett experience for the Florida Panthers fan base, it's working out pretty well. And honestly, I'm pretty happy for him because, I mean, I don't know. I'm not the type of guy who's like, yeah, I like to sit there and see people listed as busts. For the most part. That's my attitude, at least. And the Bruins finally played their first game of the season. And guess what? They still haven't played their second. That is tonight. That is Wednesday night. They'll finally play their second game of the year. God damn it.
What is the schedule?
Yeah, okay.
What is the schedule? I don't get it.
So, I understand, in a way, I guess, Seattle and the New York Islanders both starting off the season on road trips, finalized, stuff with their new stadiums. I get that. But, yeah, the Bruins, too, I forget what month it is, are going to have a ridiculous, it's 18 games or in 24 days or some shit like that. There's some, massive issue with their schedule. I don't understand the schedule making, but Bruins look good in that season opener. Marchand had 2 goals, which was great. One was an empty netter, but suck it, they still count. And shockingly, and we mentioned on the show, Jeremy Swayman is going to start.
On that empty netter, he was taken down. It was just egregious. A suspendable offense. Sorry, I had to.
I mean, I will say to the Jack Edwards clip, because that did get some circulation. God. Number 1, is he a homer? Yes, he works for New England Sports Network. Yes. He is supposed to be a homer. My God. But secondly, was it the most egregious play in the world where he was dragged down, I believe, by Heiskanen? No, but I can see the argument to say that Heiskanen's holding on to the dude's leg while he's going towards the goal. And we have seen players suffer severe leg injuries by hitting their legs on the post. And if, again, homer take on his part, yes. Is there some truth to it that it could have been a dangerous situation even though it ended up being fine? Yes. The truth is somewhere in the middle. But yeah, at the end of the day, he is a brutal homer.
I just got to
Jeremy Swayman's
now that I have you here, and sorry to cut you off, but Boston fans, do they legitimately love the guy, or are they kind of embracing him as a meme just because they know he pisses people off, or is that also somewhere in the middle?
Both.
Yeah.
Okay. Both.
I could totally say both.
Because I don't know if I would like that. Just someone who has these crazy takes that are always slanted one way. That's why I like Drew Remenda.
I mean, that's the thing. So see, that's the misconception. It's not always in the Bruins' favor, though. You'll hear these clips of him being in the Bruins' favor because that's what's going to gain traction. You'll never see a clip on Twitter of him, there was a couple years ago. It wasn't Tyler Seguin's return to Boston, but Tyler Seguin scored a wicked goal. He lost his mind. Just celebrating Tyler Seguin and the fact that he scored a goal like this. Some of Jack Edwards' best goal calls have been for goals scored against the Bruins. But again, that'll never catch traction. And I'm not saying it should. It's not surprising, but
that's fair.
I feel like it's the same way now. It's a different style of commentary, but Rick Janneret is another guy for Buffalo, who some people define as a little bit obnoxious sometimes. End of the day, for me, though, I've heard, some of the goal calls for him, for other teams. And I think it's the same story. You'll only hear, clips of, his Mayday call or the goal calls for Pat LaFontaine. You won't hear goal calls for him for, other teams' goals. That's just not how it works. But aside from that, the Leafs beat the Sens 3-1. I don't know if Endo has any takes on that, but they actually beat the Sens. Can you believe it?
It's hockey. Like I said, everyone's freaking out about the whole season so far. We're gonna touch on this later, but I'm gonna say it right now. It's week 1. Like we have teams right now who are undefeated. Teams who right now who we thought would never be undefeated are undefeated right now. Come back to me in a month and tell me how your teams are doing. I think a month, 3 weeks there is kind of a good checkpoint to see how teams are doing, because anything can happen in hockey. You know what I mean? You can have a good hot streak at the beginning, and then you guys just turn to mush. You play a bunch of tough teams. You lose some games. Yeah, give me a month.
Fair enough. Worth noting for the Sens, too, Brady Tkachuk about to make his season debut, so that'll help them a little bit. I mean, Ottawa's 2-1 through their first 3 games. It's still super early, but it'll be nice to see Brady Tkachuk suiting back up for them. By the way, in the Atlantic Division right now, every team has played at least 3 games, except for Boston, who have still only played 1.
What is the schedule? It makes no sense.
Yet, the Bruins on 1 game have more points than Montreal with 4.
God.
We'll talk more about that later. I just wanted to throw that out there. Because, yes, indeed, the Rangers also beat the Habs. We'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Also on Saturday, this might have been the most notable thing. The Pittsburgh Penguins kicked the hell out of the Chicago Blackhawks 5-2 in Marc-Andre Fleury's return to Pittsburgh. Fleury got pulled in that game. Yeah, we'll talk about. We could talk about Chicago a little bit now. I mean, they're 0-3-1 on the season. They've scored 8 goals and have allowed 17. It's been a rough start for Chicago. It's 4 games, but the revolution of their defense, led by Seth Jones, has not quite happened yet. 78 games to go.
Seth Squidboy Jones, as noted, with his X Factor.
Oh yeah,
Squidboy Jones. Oh man, I feel so bad.
I don't really know what there is to say about Chicago, other than, I mean, they're 4 games in, and I'm already seeing Blackhawks fans call for Jeremy Colleton's job as head coach of the team.
Calling for the wrong guy's job.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it should be the guy leading the team that was involved in a scandal that still hasn't been
and who's just making
decided
terrible
upon by a
fucking
court of law.
decisions. Like, I don't know how Bowman's even still involved. It kind of boggles my mind. Yeah, nepotism and the old boys club. I mean, that's all what it is. Hey, cool. That's crazy. That's like the same reason that Chicago's not even being investigated. That's crazy. Yeah.
They're investigating themselves, though.
Oh yeah.
My God.
No wrongdoing was found. Thank you very much. Please look the other way. But yeah, I mean, they got shelled. Just brutally shelled, and sucks for Flower because he's such a goddamn good goaltender, still elite, and I'm so happy he's no longer on Vegas because of that fact, because God, he is frustrating to play against. But in that one, he can't work his magic in a game like that. That was just absolutely brutal from Chicago. You went from a pretty damn good defense to what the hell is that? And Seth Jones is, I don't know. It's almost like he's playing around replacement level, but he's still got that contract. It's very, very awkward situation for Chicago.
It's worth noting you still have someone like Patrick Kane, who's a point a game so far. Jonathan Taves, no points in 4 games. It's been a rough return for him so far. And in terms of goaltending, Kevin Lankinen has two appearances so far for Chicago.
Oh boy, here it comes.
He has an .889 save percentage. Marc-Andre Fleury has 3 appearances for Chicago. He has an .840.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Not a flying start to the season for Chicago.
That hurt.
It was a flying start to the season for the San Jose Sharks, who won their season opener on Saturday, 4-3 against the Winnipeg Jets.
Flying, hey!
A goal for Jasper Weatherby. Aiden Hill was the winning goalie in that game. Sin, any thoughts on the Sharks' first game of the season? We'll obviously talk about the other game as well that they have played so far this year, but good start to the season for them with that win over Winnipeg.
And now y'all know Jasper Weatherby's name. He had 2 points in that game, goal on the power play, and an assist. And, I mean, I love him. He's a big body, playing that 4th-line center role, but getting power play time. I mean, that shows a lot of... It's very good. We have a new power play coach because Rocky Thompson doesn't like needles. And but fine. We got McLean And I'm now a die-hard fan of this power play. You can't be the only one making puns. So, yeah, we got John McClain.
Come on, man.
And, yeah, it looks good. They're pulling the trigger. We've scored multiple power play goals on the next game, which I'm sure we'll talk about, in a bit. But, yeah, it was just the Sharks went down 2-0, and I winced. I was like, oh, shit. Aiden Hill looked awful on the first, mainly the second goal, where he just kind of shot the puck into Karlsson's leg, swung his stick behind the net as the puck got passed out, and it went like 5-hole on him. And I was like, we're cursed. Like, we're absolutely cursed. That was a Martin Jones type play, and it was horrible. But the Sharks bounced back, got 4 unanswered goals, and then held on to win. It was just something that they wouldn't have done last season. And again, it is early, but very, very promising start, and they look happier. They all look as a unit, which, again, wasn't the case last season either.
And the final notable game on Saturday, the Edmonton Oilers beat the Calgary Flames 5-2 in the Battle of Alberta. Connor McDavid had a hat trick, and I want to hold off on talking about the other notable thing from that particular game because I want to shift ahead to Sunday, where there was only one game that took place, and that was Ottawa beating Dallas 3-2. The reason why I kind of wanted to talk about these two games back-to-back is, last week we got to talk about the Dylan Larkin and Gabe Landeskog suspensions. In that Battle of Alberta, Rasmus Andersson headbutted Kyler Yamamoto. There's been some contention as to whether or not his hand was up, and then he still made the motion of trying to headbutt Kyler Yamamoto, and he was fined $5,000 for that, which is the maximum allowable fine under the current CBA for what was called roughing. Pavel Buchnevich, though, was also involved in a headbutting incident when the Blues played the Coyotes the next day on Monday. We'll talk more about that game in a second, but he was assessed a match penalty. So we are a week and a half into the season, and we've already seen 2 instances of headbutting.
Yeah.
And as well, it was one of the things we talked about too, sneaky, dirty players. And I brought up Jamie Benn. And Jamie Benn in this game, Ottawa v. Dallas, had another one of those moments as to where I'm surprised apparently nothing happened. I didn't see anything in the news about it, but essentially he and Shane Pinto took a face-off. Pinto kind of ended up on all fours in the face-off dot, and Jamie Benn just takes his stick like a guillotine straight down onto this kid's back right off the face-off. And it's like, how is that not a fine? You said you were cracking down on stuff like that. Jamie Benn is legitimately one of the dirtiest players in the league. If Brad Marchand did that, people would be calling for a 20-game suspension. I couldn't believe that went, I'm pretty sure, uncalled.
Yeah, it went uncalled
in that game. Or even then, where's the 1-game suspension for that? If Larkin's going to get a retaliation suspension.
I'm so surprised Larkin actually got suspended for what he did. But yeah, the whole point of we were supposedly cracking down on cross-checking. I'm glad you brought that up. It seemed they did that sort in the preseason, but now the regular season starts all of a sudden. Oh, wait a sec. Jamie Benn did it? That's just, veteran play. I don't know. It's that some certain players get certain sort of benefits of the doubt, but then also it just depends on where you're on the season. Preseason, all right, let's crack down on everything, make things safe. Regular season, maybe start to get more lax on stuff. Certain players are able to get away with certain things, and the playoff starts, all of a sudden, Connor McDavid can't skate without someone getting dragged along with him on his back and no call. But it's just, what is the rule book? Can we call the rule book? If you say you're going to do something, do it across the board. That's really all people want at the end of the day, is some consistency. And you won't have people bringing up other instances, comparing them to this same, why wasn't this called? Why wasn't, it's just not good look for the NHL when this kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, 100%. They just, if this is the rule book, right now, they're just looking at it and just going, it's done. just throwing it out, throwing it behind them, be like, all right, we don't see anything. They'll have 4 pairs of glasses on. They'll just cover it up completely. I saw nothing. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil in some sort of way. I just wish they would actually enforce their rules a little bit better, but that's just me.
It's not even the playoffs.
Not even the playoffs. It is week 2.
It's already there.
It's week 2.
My God.
Oh boy.
We'll shift ahead to Monday. I'll give Endo a chance to speak on this game. The New York Rangers beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-1 in overtime. Austin Matthews robbed Artemi Panarin, scores the winner down the other way after a face-off. That puts the Leafs this year at a record of 2-1-1 through their first 4 games. And already it seems like a decent portion of the fan base is willing and ready to jump off a cliff.
Okay. Can we, I'm just going to real close to the microphone and say, can we wait a month, please? Thank you so very much. We'll come back after a month. If you want to jump off the bridge, let's just do that. But honestly, that team is, it's, I don't know if it's cursed, if it's like hexed or whatever. It's just the morale on those players and the amount of pressure on them now because of what's happened last year. And I'm pretty sure Kyle Dubas has said some stuff to them behind the scenes, being like, this is like the year, or else like something's going to happen because Dubas's job is on the line. I know the coach, I can't remember his name. Oh, God, I'm a Leaf fan. I can't remember the name. Head coach for the Leafs.
Sheldon Keefe.
Sheldon Keefe. I know his job is, he just re-signed again for, I think another 2 years. We touched on that 2 weeks ago. And it's definitely coming to a point where there's probably so much frustration because he's put so much on this. He's navigated the cap massively, a lot more than Tampa Bay has with their situation, especially with, we're probably going to touch on that later with Kucherov going on the LTIR. It's coming to a lot of frustration. And I feel like this is, they always say like, oh, this is the year. No, this is literally the year that you have to get this done. No more waiting, no more else. And it's probably a mountain of pressure on these kids. Like Austin got off a shift where he missed. He looks like just wind out of him completely. Just, it's, I have no words. Like I'm fumbling right now to describe it because I can't defend it. I'm not gonna defend it because I'm not a homer. I'm a realist. They need to get this done, and I hope they really do because this team does have all the talent and all the workaround to be a successful team. But just something's not clicking, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if they know what it is because they clearly don't so far. I don't know who they have to bring in, who they have to accompany in there to sit them down, hold hands, sing kumbaya, do whatever you can because it's just, I don't know. I don't know.
I kind of feel like in that game, they just kind of got Shesterkin. I mean, he was on fire. Sometimes you just run into a hot goaltender. You still got a point out of it. Hell, man, 2-1-1 start. Again, it's like, no time to hit the pressure. Panic button. It's the pressure. Like, it's killing them.
It's only getting worse, too. That's the problem. Year in and year out, it's okay, this has to be the year. This has to be the year. This has to be. Like, the pressure level just keeps building. It literally is the definition of a pressure cooker situation in sports, where it was last year the year where something happens? No. So it certainly seems like, though, that they're at that point. Like, something's got to happen. And the problem is, man, that much pressure on a team, that is very, very, very tough to deal with.
Yeah.
Is the best way to describe it. But like Endo said, like let's calm down a little bit, Leafs Nation. Settle down, breathe a little bit.
Relax a little bit, please. Come on, I don't want to see.
There are other teams with cup ambitions who have had slow starts. The New York Islanders have 1 win in their first 3 games. Maybe not proper cup ambitions, but we'll talk about Montreal in a little bit. Tampa's 500 through their first 4 games. Colorado has 1 win in their first 3. The Winnipeg Jets haven't won a game out of their first 3 games. I mean, there are teams that have ambitions this year that are also maybe not flying out of the gates. I get it can be frustrating when New Jersey is 2-0, when Buffalo is doing what they're doing, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. It can be frustrating. We will shift ahead to Monday's games. I'd say 3 notable games on Monday. The Philadelphia Flyers kicked the ever-loving hell out of the Seattle Kraken. 6-1, the final score. Carter Hart looked pretty good in that game. And it's worth noting with Seattle, I mean, they're 1-3-1 through their first 5 games, of course, all on the road. And really, I mean, the first 5 games of the season, I'd say they've been highlighted by the fact that, the defense and goaltending maybe hasn't been quite as strong as you would expect. And I'll skip ahead here. We might as well talk about Seattle now because they also played on Tuesday night, and they lost to New Jersey 4-2. Dawson Mercer for the Devils got his first game there, but like Yanni Gourde returned to the lineup a couple weeks earlier than expected. And surprise, surprise, they didn't immediately win a game. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really slow start for Seattle through the first 5 games. Shockingly, again, the defense more of an issue, the goaltending more of an issue than anything. And to get exact numbers here on what that goaltending is looking like so far, I mean, you know, in terms of, is it Chicago pretty? Yeah, you know, it's okay. I don't know. I'm not sitting here overly freaking out about the Kraken at this point either. I mean, Chris Driedger's played 1 game. He has an 857. Grubauer has played 4 games. He has an 867. It's likely to get better, but even then, I don't think anyone was expecting Seattle to go full Vegas except for me because I highly rated their defense and goaltending, and so far it's been bad. Nendo's going to keep holding that over my head.
I walked out of that room. You remember that? I walked out of in frustration.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you here is that what do you think the issue is? I mean, we can all agree on paper, solid defensive core, solid goaltending tandem. Does it come down to coaching? Does it come down to the system? The first game that I watched, them against Vegas, their defensive system looked sloppy. Their breakouts were awful. They were allowing guys past them. They were just giving unforced turnovers. Like, what is it? Still working on chemistry? Is it? I don't know. Like, that's why I was going to ask you. Like, what have you seen if you're keeping an eye on them?
It could very well be Dave Haxtell. It could very well be. I mean, I can't say. Like, I think it could be a combination of coaching. It could be like, hey, they've played 5 games.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they are at a disadvantage in that regard because the natural chemistry is not going to be there compared to any other team in the league that has that opportunity. Now, you can say, well, hey, how much of an excuse is that? Look at what Vegas did in their first season. And right now, to be honest, I'm going to look this up. I want to see how Vegas started the 17-18 season and if they really started on a hot note or a hot streak, because I don't really remember if they did.
I kind of do. I think they came out pretty strong. They might have lost a couple in the first few, but they like hit this switch and they just kept winning these games. They had multiple injuries to their goaltenders. They had like AHL goaltender tandem and were still finding ways to win a game. That literally they kind of caught lightning in the bottle.
So their first, sorry to cut you off. Their first month, they started 8-3. But the difference is, and maybe this is a factor, the Vegas Golden Knights played, from what I can tell here, they had 11 games. I believe they played 8 of their first 9 games at home.
Wow, that helps.
Well, actually, no, they had 7 home games. Let me see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 of their first 9 games.
Yeah, they had an 8-game homestand.
Were at home.
That's ridiculous.
And obviously, we know Seattle has only played road games so far.
Yeah.
So maybe
Very
that's
different.
a factor as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Travel's
you
tough.
look back. Like, obviously, there's a big coaching advantage on paper that's starting off with that Vegas team. I mean, Gerard Gallant versus Dave Haxtell. Sorry to Dave Haxtell. Yeah, no one's picking you in that battle right now. We'll see if you prove people wrong down the road. That could very well happen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is for Seattle. And again, I am the type of guy who tries to not be overly reactionary. But there's some concerning things. But obviously, I mean, how many teams can you look at in that Pacific Division? 2 to 4 games played. You know, where you're not like, oh yeah, hey, like, you know, the Sharks are 2-0 so far, and we'll talk about them in a moment as well. But Anaheim, you know, 4 games, 4 points. No one expects Anaheim to stay up there. So, I mean, it's still super early. As it is, like, Vegas has only played 2 games. It's just so early on. But obviously, it looks like there's more to base it off of because you do have the 5 games played for Vegas, which I believe is the most in the league, if not tied. No, it's the most games played in the league. So they're the one team you want to look at the most.
You said Vegas, but then you said they only played 2?
Oh, Yeah, Vegas has played 2. Sorry, I meant that Seattle's played 5.
Oh yeah, right.
Which is the most of anybody in the league so far.
Yeah,
because the NHL is just like, get out there. You're new.
Yeah, go
get
for
the
it.
attention.
Yeah,
Fresh
Jesus,
fish,
man.
fresh
The way
fish.
that like Vegas was treated versus Seattle looks kind of incredible. Like Vegas, do whatever the fuck you want, swindle people. To Seattle, do not get Fleury and then trade him back with retention. Absolutely not. And then, but then also, what the hell?
Fish.
Seattle's like, yeah, we're gonna weaponize our cap space, and then they signed Grubauer, and that was it. I'm like, what else? Like, don't they have like 10 mil like available still? I don't even.
They
know.
have a lot left. Hold on,
Yeah.
I can check right now.
Let's take a look on old CapFriendly. The Seattle Kraken currently have $6 million in cap space.
Not bad.
Yeah, which isn't all that bad. The problem is that, well, actually they'll have less because Drager, Johansson, and Blackwell are all on IR at the moment.
Yeah.
So
Okay, shit.
interesting situation. Yeah, I mean, I guess they did end up spending it.
I guess they didn't grab anyone that good. Clearly.
Yeah, I think it would have been closer to $9 million because Yanni Gourde was previously on
okay.
IR.
That's
and of course
probably
now
what
he's
I
back
was.
on the
Okay,
roster.
yeah, that's probably
So
why I was.
that makes sense. Also, on Monday, the Anaheim Ducks beat Calgary 3-2. Jamie Drysdale scored the game-winning goal. Again, that rookie race, who the hell knows? It's going to be ridiculous. And then there was that Blues-Coyotes game that I mentioned with the Bushnevich headbutting situation. The Blues won that game 7-4. Jordan Kyrou scored a couple great goals for the Blues. Our friend, second time we'll mention him today, our friend Deekslayer was at that show, and or at that game, I should say. And boy, what a show it was. Again, a 7-4 loss for the Yotes. Carter Hutton. I'm just going to say the name Carter Hutton. And in terms of the numbers so far, Carter Hutton has played 2 games, or at least has 2 appearances, as does the Coyotes backup. Can you guys name the Coyotes backup goalie, by the way?
Don't tell me it's that guy who we didn't know when they signed him. That guy from Jamaica or whatever.
No.
It's not the
Anson
Jamaican
Thornton or
kid.
something like that, or Anson Thornton.
Yeah, it's not him.
No, this is his. I know this was his first ever game in North American ice. I can't remember his name.
So it's not even Coronar, who they acquired for Aiden Hill. It is goaltender Karl Vejmelka.
Oh, Vejmelka.
Yeah,
Okay.
Vejmelka.
He's 25. He was a 5th round pick of the Preds in 2015.
I'm surprised.
And
they didn't
indeed,
throw
he's
Koshinash
just now
in there.
come over.
Like, why wouldn't they?
So here's the
That's
thing.
crazy.
Vejmelka has 2 appearances, and if I'm getting that wrong, I'm sorry. He has 2 appearances on the year. Any guess of what his save percentage is?
725.
It's like a 9.
He's faced 45 shots.
It's like a 9 something.
His save percentage, I'm saying 767.
It is a 956.
Yeah,
What?
that's right, baby. That's right.
Dude, what? Holy
That's
shit.
my boy. I didn't know who
I thought
it
it
was
was
5 minutes
terrible.
ago. That's my boy.
Vejmelka through 2 appearances has a 956. Do you want to guess Carter Hutton's save percentage?
839.
777.
All right, so here's the stat line. Karl Vejmelka, 45 shots against, 2 goals allowed for a 956 save percentage in 2 appearances. Carter Hutton also has 2 appearances. He has 47 shots against, so only 2 more shots against. 14 goals allowed for a 702
Oh, boy.
with a goals against average of 875.
My boy, those are ECHL numbers. Please.
Those are EASHL 3's numbers.
Hey,
like, you'd be
shut up.
okay with a 702 in a video game, maybe. It's only 2 games. But God,
Look how they massacred my boy. Holy shit.
Dude,
That's
I feel
rough.
I feel attacked about you mentioning Ishel.
Oh my God, you should.
Well,
You are the Carter
what-
Hutton of Ishel.
let's go with Vejmelka and Koshinash, I guess. And
Oh my God.
let's just throw
God.
Hutton to the AHL. No one's claiming him. But yeah, I really want to see Josef Koshinash get in there for Arizona.
Is it Kozanash?
It's
Is it that
Koshinash,
funky?
yeah, because he's, I think, like Slovak or Czech or something like that. So the
Yeah.
R's have accents
I
on
learned
them.
something.
They're like a zh sound,
Yeah.
so it's Koshinash, I guess, which
There
is...
we go. I learned something today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eventually.
To finish beating up on the Coyotes, any guess of who their leading scorer is through 3 games?
Geek Slayer.
It's all a
The
guess.
Coyotes,
Yeah.
Louis Eriksson.
Does Louis Eriksson have a point?
I don't think
Louis
he-
Eriksson has 1 point in 3 games.
Might be the leading
The
scorer.
leading scorer, by the way, shout out to Jake Chikrin, who has no points in 3 games and is a -7. That's rough.
Poor guy.
Uh-oh.
The leading scorer of the Arizona Coyotes after 3 games, Shane Gostisbehere,
Oh, Ghost Bear. Let's go.
who they got for nothing.
Good for him.
Good job, Ghost Bear.
Good for him. Give him a resurgence.
And that'll bring us to Tuesday's games, at least the highlighted games that make sense to talk about. And we'll kick things off, finally. You've been waiting for this. Architect, if you're listening. The Buffalo Sabres beat the Vancouver Canucks by the score of 5-2. The Sabres are 3-0 to start this NHL season, matching the Florida Panthers, who are also 3-0. The Buffalo Sabres have scored 12 goals in those 3 games and allowed 4. The Sabres have only allowed 4 goals in 3 games. They are 3-0. This is unreal.
It's Sabres hockey.
And again, it's 3 games. Dustin Tokarski has 1 appearance. He had a win. .952 save percentage in that game. Craig Anderson has 2 appearances. He has a .954. So far, the weakest goaltending tandem aside from Arizona in the league is holding up. Shout out to Zemgus Girgensons and Colin Miller, who are tied for the team lead in points with 4 points in 3 games. As well, you have Girgensons, Okposo, and Tage Thompson, all but 2 goals in the first 3 games. Enjoy it, Sabres fans. Yeah. It's going well right now.
All your busts are doing good. Congrats.
Oh, my God. Boys, how the hell do we... it's the magic of the beginning of a new season. Nobody expects it to last, but good Lord.
Here's the thing. It's the beginning of a new Sabre season. How many times have they gotten off to good starts in the last couple of years and then absolutely collapsed? They had that one where they didn't like lose in regulation or something for like, I can't remember, like 15. I don't know how long it was, but it was a while.
That was the Jeff Skinner year, if I'm not mistaken. That was 18-19 where they still didn't make the playoffs. That's when Skinner scored 40
and
goals.
Then the second half of the season, they were awful. Then last year, 17-game losing streak or something after they got off to a decent start.
Oh, my God.
So 3-0, that's great. But if you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, for one, you're not in attendance of these games unless you're, as devoted as Architect is. But dude, that picture freaked me out. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, no one's there yet. It's like game starts in 5 minutes. It's like, holy fuck!
Oh my God.
Shout out to Sleeves on Twitter for pointing that out to me. But holy crap,
God,
yeah, it's
great.
Good start for them. I don't think it's sustainable. However, I wish the best to Dylan Cousins and Dylan Cousins only, the workhorse from Whitehorse. I love that guy.
What a name.
Goodness. So, I mean, Endo, any particular take on the Sabres here? Or are you just as stunned as I am about
Come
this?
back to me in a month. I'm telling you guys. Like, every time everyone's like, oh,
you can't keep having that same take.
It's like, Ken. This is also, I would say this is my show, but it's Tougie's show. We're just along for the ride. No, but I think personally, I don't know. Like, you get to a hot start at the beginning of the season. Also, my light's getting dark. Then that's just the way it goes. That's just how it is. That's hockey, baby. You never know when a team's going to go hot and a team's going to go cold. And right now they're going hot. They could drop off. I think it's actually absolutely hilarious, and it's such a Buffalo Sabre thing to be doing very well without Jack Eichel. Like, it just you can't write this. You can't. It's unreal.
Yeah, I think that's the most cruel twist of it all, of course, is without Jack Eichel, they're still finding success, and people being like, oh, I bet Jack wishes he was there now. Jack never wanted to not be there. Jack wanted to be there. And if they allowed him to get the surgery he wanted, he would be healthy right now and playing for this team, which means they'd probably be 0-3 because Buffalo can't have nice things. My God, that narrative of like, oh, I bet Jack Eichel wishes he could be there. Do you work for the Sabres? He wanted to be there. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
God damn it. Trade him to Tampa because they have the cap space now.
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about that.
The sequel.
God damn it.
Shout out, by the way, I was going to mention it. The Canucks also suspended Travis Hamonic without pay. I had no idea what the hell is going on there. It really doesn't. It doesn't change the cap situation. I can respect the guy's privacy. There are people saying maybe it's a family matter. Obviously, you have some people speculating whether or not it could be COVID related. At the end of the day, I just hope he's all right and it's nothing overly negative.
No clue what was going on.
Honestly, I don't think it's that big of a loss for the Canucks anyway. Travis Hamonic isn't what he used to be. But we'll bring that topic of discussion now to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They did play on Tuesday. They lost 4-1 to the Florida Panthers, who, again, are 3-0 now. Anton Lundell scored his first goal because this rookie class is absurd at the moment. And the big news for the Lightning, as we know, they have placed Nikita Kucherov on long-term injured reserve. The date today is October 20th of 2021. I had to make sure. Which means they currently have an additional $9.5 million. Obviously, I don't think there's anything fishy going on here. I think he's hurt. But my God, if he's out until April.
Oh my God. It's going to be.
Like, they haven't said, specifically what's going on. It's just he's on LTIR. I think it's a lower body injury is what they listed. But they have $9.5 million in cap space. Jack Eichel's contract is 10.
Mm-hmm.
They can wear. Is Jack Eichel going to be a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning?
I mean, I don't think they have enough assets, but also maybe they do. Man, Buffalo's stupid. So maybe I hope like hell it doesn't happen. It's just, or maybe, you know what? Actually, fuck it. I hope it does happen because at that point, it's like, this is blatant. Okay, can we please fix this? Let him have a three-peat based off the three-peat that will be controversial till the end of time. You got a bubble cup, you got a COVID cup, and then you did the same bullshit with Kucherov cup.
The CapFriendly cup.
The CapFriendly cup.
Cap cup.
The circumvention cup. It's funny. Obviously we don't wish ill on the guy. We hope he's okay. We hope the injury isn't so severe. But, like, the start of this season has been so meme-worthy. The Buffalo Sabres are doing good without Eichel. Oh, the Montreal Canadiens, who just made it to the Cup, they haven't even scored as many goals as they have games played. Or maybe they do. I don't know. It's terrible, whatever it is. And then, hey, the Lightning, remember what they did last year? Kucherov's on LTIR again. Like, holy crap. It's been such a short amount of time. And, like, while we can't maybe judge the trajectories of all these teams, we can sure as fuck. It just seems like so much has happened. It's hilarious, and I love it. I'm glad hockey's back because it's great. But yeah, it's just like, you can't keep getting away with this. Like,
so in terms of the roster, like obviously in terms of fair value, there's not going to be a fair value trade for Jack Eichel. Like Sabres fans, I'm sure would look and be like, oh, Anthony Cirelli at least, please. Bottom line is that I do think they could pull it off. I mean, obviously, to fantasy hockey, this trade. You look at the Lightning's draft picks. By the way, they're already without their second-round pick this year and next. They also have their first-round pick this year, and then they don't have another pick until round 5. They have their first-round picks in the next 3 years. They have guys in the system. They're not the greatest prospects in the world. But could I see a deal for like a Max Kashkovich? Sure. Like he's a solid player in the QMJHL. They do have other guys, like younger guys that made the team like Taylor Radish, Boris Kachuk. Defensively, someone like Jack Thompson's okay. And then Hugo Alnefeld's a Swedish goalie who's pretty solid. Like I do think Tampa could actually work out a deal here. Will they? I don't know. Maybe I just finally want that Jack Eichel saga to end. And the funny thing is, they would acquire Jack Eichel and then immediately put him on LTIR because he would have to get the surgery, which means in April, Jack Eichel and Nikita Kucherov would come back, which means they would have
who else is on injury reserve?
$19 million in salary to spend to bring in people to help make sure they get to the playoffs.
And the cycle begins anew.
I want full madness here.
Then they got to acquire someone else on LTIR. Who's injured out there? I'm trying to scout for more injuries.
CapFriendly. Who's hurt? Who's broken?
We'll get the Evander Kane termination, then they'll sign him to league minimum.
Oh my god. I wanted to mention the Panthers as well, since that's how we got to the Tampa Bay Lightning topic of conversation. They're 3-0. Joe Thornton was actually fined for slashing, about $2,000 for slashing Boris Kachuk in that game. Way to go, Joe. But so far, I mean, for the Panthers, everything's coming at Millhouse through 3 games. Spencer Knight and Bobrovsky have both been great. Sasha Barkov has 5 points in 3 games. Gustav Forsling has 4 assists in 3 games on the block. The Panthers are sick, and they're going to be sick, and they're going to be a playoff team. That's not surprising to anybody. What might be surprising, though, we have one more big game to talk about, and I think it should be the main event, actually, from Tuesday's game. So let's actually avoid that great segue, and we'll backtrack a little bit. In terms of other games that happened on Tuesday, the Capitals beat Colorado 6-3. Guys, Alex Ovechkin has 4 goals already this season.
Let's go.
Go.
He's got to get fucking 70. we need him to beat the record.
We all, at least here, want this to happen for Alex Ovechkin. I still say, I said earlier in the show, Mike Bossy is my nod for best goal scorer of all time.
Same.
But I mean, Ovi's obviously up there. And, hey, if your definition of best goal scorer of all time is the most goals and longevity, then hey, looks like Ovi might have a shot. Yeah. The Detroit Red Wings beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 4-1, highlighted by Lucas Raymond's first career goal, which was sick. And Tyler Bertuzzi has 5 goals already.
Making up for being a goddamn annoyance and a thorn in their side at least.
He's on the redemption path. He really is.
You really got that 5G, huh? Come on, it was there. It was there.
God. The New York Islanders beat the Chicago Blackhawks 4-1. We already talked about how bad the Hawks are. Shout out to Oliver Wahlstrom, though, who has 3 goals on the season already. The Minnesota Wild beat the Winnipeg Jets 6-5 in overtime in one of the craziest games of the year so far. An underrated rivalry between those two teams. And shout out to the Marcus Foligno-Brendan Dillon fight where Marcus Foligno attempted a Superman punch. Because of course he did.
Why not?
And if it had landed, I think it would have knocked Brendan Dillon out cold. Because that was a hell of a strike throw that he missed, though.
He's a tough dude, but he's not the best fighter on the planet, that's for sure. But Dilly's tough as hell. But yeah, if that landed, like it didn't look. Dilly barely reacted to it too. That's the funny thing. Like he just kind of missed it, and so good thing too, because we saw what happened when Bieksa landed his. So
And the other game to mention here before we get to our big topic of discussion, the Edmonton Oilers beat the Anaheim Ducks 6-5. Connor McDavid's on 4 goals on the year as well. And I saw a stat, I think this was based off of after the Ducks game. McDavid has 42 points in his last 16 games dating back to last season.
Regular season, right?
Yeah.
That's a
42 points in his last 16 regular season.
That's disgusting. Also, Ducks can score? Like, what is this season so far, man?
Ducks score together.
Dude, they have they have 13 goals in 4 games. I mean, they've done all right in terms of putting up points so far, but obviously as that Edmonton game shows, you might still have some concerns about the defense and the goaltending. Although I will say, goaltending-wise, it's actually been pretty good. You look at 5 or 6 goals against, and you're like, But John Gibson in 2 games has a .961 save percentage.
It's John Gibson.
Because
he's so good.
He's faced... So here's the thing. Gibson and Stolarz have both appeared twice. Stolarz has a .911 save percentage as their backup, by the way. Gibson in 2 games has faced 77 shots. Stolarz has faced 79.
Yeah.
The goaltending is not the issue right now in the early stages of this season. I don't know if it's the coaching system or what, but my God, do they just hemorrhage shots. And it's going to catch up to him. And I had the opinion of John Gibson in the preseason prediction. Was John Gibson, like the chicken or egg scenario? Are his numbers actually down because his numbers are down, or is he on a bad team? You base it off of these first 4 games of the season, I'm leaning towards the latter in that it's just a relatively bad team that he has in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the case. It's been Gibby against the world and with the Ducks for the last few years, and they're finally starting to get some help, at least on the scoring sheet. So his job's going to be a bit easier. He might not have to, hurt his back again carrying the team. But yeah, I still think he is one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. Doesn't get enough love because, of where he plays and the market that he plays in. West Coast combined with smaller market. I mean, that's just death sentence for, notability. But yeah, he's good. He's that kind of goaltender.
Yeah, that's definitely been a history that's been repeated in the Ducks franchise. Obviously, you look back at Freddie Anderson being the number one guy back then. Yeah, Giguère as well being their guy. Back when, even recently with Ryan Miller as their goalie, it's been a pattern where you put great guys in net, they stand on their head, and they get basically no love from the rest of the team. It's rough.
And with that, we go to our main event of this episode of this particular show. On Tuesday, the San Jose Sharks defeated the Montreal Canadiens by the score of 5-0. The Canadiens, by the way, have really struggled against the Sharks. The stat line that I saw is that the Canadiens haven't won in San Jose since 1999.
Yep.
Which is outrageous. Let's talk about the Sharks first, and then I'm going to dance on the Habs graves a little bit.
I'll join you.
Can I do it
with
too?
the Sharks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All three of us.
Through the first two games, right? Let's talk about the team on the ice before we talk about off the ice. I'll start in goal. Aiden Hill, through 2 games this year, has a .932 save percentage. Pretty damn good. We've yet to see James Reimer. Defensively, Erik Karlsson has 4 points in 2 games. He said he still feels as though he is one of the best defensemen in the league. Sin, your take, let's go with Aiden Hill and Erik Karlsson first before talking a little bit about the offense. Your take there.
Aiden Hill, thank you. We love you already. You make saves that you should. You make saves that you shouldn't. And that's incredible. He stoned Anderson on a breakaway, which when I see a breakaway as a Sharks fan the last few years, I'm conditioned. I'm like, all right, there's a goal. Probably gonna be a goal. But yeah, Aiden Hill, he's got a little, couple helps from the post a couple times, but also, you also make your own luck. So yeah, there's gonna be post sit and shit. You just got to stop the pucks that you have to stop. Aiden Hill has done that. I didn't realize the save percentage was that high. Pretty damn good. But yeah, Erik Karlsson, I like to see that confidence in himself, and I'd like to see him going out there and perhaps not trying to live up to his salary and just playing and not trying to make those Hail Mary plays constantly, making the simple plays, and he's gotten rewarded for it. He has 2 assists on the power play that were simple as hell. Pass over to one side, that person scores. He didn't try to thread the needle, didn't try to make anything crazy happen, and he will produce like that. I mean, yeah, you said it, 164 point pace. Stop the count. Let's go.
As well on the offensive side of things, that top line so far. Everyone at least playing a game with Jonathan Dahlen, former Canucks prospect, Logan Couture and Timo Meier. Second line highlighted by one Mr. William Eklund and Tomas Hertl. Even the fourth line, man, Cogliano, Weatherby, Peterson. Like, we've seen some point production from that line as well. Again, it's 2 games, but it's been a strong start for the Sharks.
It's honestly the best 2 games that I've witnessed out of them in the last 2 years, because again, they have a different air about them. They are different. They have a different team. They're feeling good about themselves. You can tell they're tight. They're sticking up for one another. Last year, we went like 15, 20 games or something like that without a fighting major. That's insane. And then we had one, and then he got his ass kicked because he was a rookie. You let a rookie fight Foligno. Like, what was that fucking team? Curtis Gabriel steps in, does all the dirty work. But yeah, now Erik Karlsson almost fought Gallagher because he didn't like a hit on a Erik Karlsson. Everyone's kind of doing it. It's just a cohesiveness and a love for one another we haven't seen in the past couple of years.
Fair enough.
And it might be due to the absence of someone who I'm betting you're getting to next.
Well, thank you for the transition to that, because we do have to talk about the Sharks off the ice. Ooh. As it was announced by the NHL that Evander Kane has been suspended 21 games for a violation of COVID protocols. We basically know what that was. He turned in a fake vaccination card. They also said and I quote, that its concurrent investigation into allegations of domestic abuse made against Kane by his estranged wife, Deanna, could not be substantiated and that there will be no further comment. So on that particular point, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean nothing happened, doesn't mean the NHL is siding with Evander Kane. At the end of the day, a lot of times, domestic abuse, especially if it happened in the past, can be very difficult to prove in a more formal way, especially in like a court of law. In talking about the suspension to begin with, I mean, this was the Sharks' leading scorer last year, leading point producer. He's out for 21 games. There were the conversations in the offseason that a lot of people in that locker room didn't really want him back. The problem is here, the conversation is a lot about, has Evander Kane played his last game as a Shark? But it was announced they could not void his contract. You know, this violation of the protocol, of the COVID protocol, it's not enough to then say, we can cut his contract. So he's still there. I don't know what this leads to, though, necessarily, but obviously we could have recorded yesterday with just Endo and I. I wanted to wait today to get your take on everything surrounding Evander Kane and just your feeling as a Sharks fan as to what's going on.
Well, I want to reiterate what you said, especially for people out there. I've seen a lot of, the allegations made by his wife were proven false. That is not what not finding, conclusive evidence means. It doesn't mean that these are fake accusations and stuff like that for people, because I've seen a lot of that going around. It just means that, again, you can't necessarily prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt, which is what you need in a court of law for the NHL standpoint. That's what they're looking for, to take some sort of action on. And what can you do about that? The thing is, it's a pattern of behavior that has followed him around since Buffalo. Yeah. Even before that at times, but especially in Buffalo, where
Winnipeg, right? There was the whole Dustin Byfuglien throwing his tracksuit in the shack.
Yeah, and at this point, I used to not like Buffalo. Now it's like I get it. I kind of get it. Like, he's just just completely ignoring team rules. Doesn't have respect. He almost fought a coach in practice. He's got assault allegations getting back to a bar. He's got a sexual assault allegation, which I wasn't even aware of, simply because it got buried so heavily. And when you hear Kane, Buffalo, sexual assault, you think Patrick immediately, because that's where, that high profile one happened. So this is just a pattern of behavior that he no longer gets the benefit of the doubt. I understand you can't prove it, you can't take action on it, but he no longer gets the benefit of the doubt from me. Not taking care of his kids, like having the addiction thing. It's a sad situation, but he hasn't seemed to get it. He hasn't seemed to hit that rock bottom. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the 21 game suspension. You got to think the Sharks are trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do and what the hell their options are. And I wonder if somehow they can get that guy the fuck out of here, whether by mutual termination, like a D'Angelo thing. I don't know if Kane would ever do that. That's what I can't help but think is that there's a decent chance they could just tell him to go sit at home. Yeah, I would. I think there's especially if the Sharks continue to play like chill in the casino, whatever he wants to do. Jesus. Well, I do like the 21 game suspension. Blackjack. Sorry, but
oh my god! Imagine that's what they were thinking. Imagine. I didn't even put that together.
Well, that's why my fantasy team is named Kane and Table. By the way.
Oh my god!
You have to, at this point, if you're a Sharks fan out there, you got to have just a sick sense of humor about these last couple of years. Otherwise, you don't survive. Simple as that. But again, what isn't humorous is the allegations. And back to on a serious note here. Yeah. How can you play with a guy who has these sort of allegations combined with his wife basically saying he's not taking care of his fucking kids? Half of that team are parents. Hurdle's a new father. So it's how, and I understand it now. How do you play with that? I think for him, there's just so much of okay, maybe you didn't do this, maybe you didn't do that, but it's believable. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the biggest issue, right? There are certain people where, you talk about Erik Karlsson. If you were to hear any one of the stories thrown out towards Evander Kane's way, whether he's done it or not, about an Erik Karlsson, you'd be like, there's no goddamn way. Yeah. They'd be completely out of his character for everything that we know. Evander Kane has continually not done himself any favors. And
You know, I'm just gonna say it. He essentially, in a way, played the race card in an ESPN interview. I don't think it's that, Evander.
He wouldn't have kept getting chances, in my opinion.
Maybe it is that from some people, but at the end of the day, there's just been story after story after story, and what's the reason for that? You know, I guess that can be debated, but yeah, I have no idea what happens with him next. I will say, in terms of this episode title, there's a chance Blackjack has replaced the Cap-Friendly Cup as the episode of the title. We'll have to come to a decision on that one.
Boy.
Two tough choices there.
Yeah.
And speaking of tough choices, we'll segue to our last talking point, and it was the team on the receiving end of this beatdown.
Oh, hold on.
The Montreal Canadiens,
before you
who
get in
have
there,
been quoted as saying...
Before you get in there, I got to talk about the situation as well.
Shit, go ahead.
Not to interrupt. I think he's definitely... even if some of these allegations were proven false, like in a court of law, he's developed such a reputation for certain things happening to him that he could turn around the other cheek. But then you got to see how many bridges have been burned with everything around him and his personality and everything around him, and completely, like, even the Hockey Diversity Alliance was like, we need to separate from you because there's a lot of stuff going on about you and what you've done and what you allegedly have done. And I think I don't know what else he's going to do after this. I don't know what the Sharks organization is going to do in terms of when everything's done, wrapped up. I like you said, Tougie, I could see him being sent home a la D'Angelo, kind of, you're just not going to play with us. We're just going to have you there. It's rough. It's rough for someone as well. Like, I'm a minority. I'm Black myself, so I know a lot of people. It doesn't really help certain stigmas around us, around a person and myself, with certain aspects that have been said and done in certain ways, and it adds more to a stigma in a way as well. And it's unfortunate because it has a trickle down effect, I believe, and it could affect other people who are visibly in that, like, who are also Black or minorities in a way, because they could see, oh, this Black guy did this Black guy did that. What are you? You could be like the next him whatsoever. So, like, I don't know. I'm looking at it the perspective where, like, your actions affect everyone around you in a certain way, and I hope to God that this doesn't, like, trickle down to anyone else.
Yeah, well, it's odd. There's people who, in one scenario, would probably be against Kaepernick, are trying to now kind of seemingly on the side of Evander Kane. I know that's kind of a generalization to print, but what it comes down to is people are gonna adjust their biases to fit whatever you know makes them the most comfortable. And in this case, it's some people just refuse, and they want to have this low opinion of any sort of woman in a life of a professional athlete or someone who has money. They're like, oh, she's in it for the money. I'm like, motherfucker, you just declared bankruptcy. Like, how is she in it for the money at this point and saying all these things for that? Oh, she's, being emotional. She's being this or that. And it's like, but those are the same people who are like, Kaepernick's being this certain way. And so it's like, it's the same people who may be saying maybe hey, race has something to do with it are the same people who wanted to, string, Kaepernick up in flames, like hang him out to dry. And when that thing was going on, of course, different league, different scenarios, but hockey's the type of league, especially when it comes to this sort of stuff against women, does not have a good track record. I mean,
exactly.
look at Mayu. I mean, look at all this other stuff. It's just,
Slava Voinov as well. That was something as well too, I believe.
He somehow got blacklisted, but Varlamov had a huge incident. Still playing.
Ridiculous.
So we'll move on to talking about Montreal, because there's no great segue out of that. But, Endo, sorry for not being like, hey, I don't just cut you off and not let you speak.
Sorry, Redo.
Montreal's 0-4 on the year. Marc Bergevin has already had to state that there will be no trades and that they have to fight through everything. Woof.
Yeah.
Did he just say tank bowl? I think he just said tank bowl.
Oh my God. Like, nobody expected this team to be this bad, though. Dude, they have 3 goals. 3 in 4 games. It was a question that I was asked for the show. Will they score 82 goals this season? And I don't know. 3 goals for, 15 allowed for a minus 12 goal differential. It's a worse goal differential than Arizona, and they have Carter Hutton with a .702 save percentage.
Bad.
Jonathan Drouin has 2 of the goals. Chris Weidman has the other, for God's sakes. Jake Allen with an .885 through 3 appearances. Sam Montembeault with an .861 in his 1 appearance. The problem for this team, Carey Price in the regular season has not been the player that his reputation dictates, right? Like, we all know this. Like, last year it was a .901 save percentage. The year before it was a .909. He had a .918 in 18-19, and then had a .900 in 2017-18. So his last 4 regular seasons, he has only had above a .910 save percentage once.
Yeah.
This is not a Carey Price steps into this lineup and fixes it problem. It is only 4 games. I will joke about the whole tap dancing on the Graves thing as much as I want to because it's Montreal and suck it. But at the end of the day, man, I don't quite get what this is in terms of just how this team is struggling this much. Like, Mike Hoffman missed 3 of the first 4 games. But is the impact of a Paul Byron, Shea Weber, and Joel Edmondson being felt that heavily? I don't know what this is with Montreal right now, but good Lord. I mean, we can sit here and talk about Arizona's goaltending being shit, and that was expected. We can sit here and talk about Chicago being worse than some people expected, because by my standards, that was expected. That Chicago wasn't going to be like, oh yeah, President's Trophy, here we come. Montreal having 3 goals in 4 games. The Bruins scored 3 goals in their 1 game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stunning. I almost feel bad for saying that I was going to try to tap dance because, oof.
I kind of don't.
Nah,
they had
either.
a Cinderella run last season. Honestly, I think that screwed them. They place all these expectations on themselves that simply aren't going to be duplicated, especially back to the normal divisional format. Yeah. They had their heyday. They did a thing. They captured some lightning in a bottle. They came up short. But, I mean, you got to think. They lost Dano, Kulak, and I think Kulak was severely underrated for what he brought to the team as, you know, a defenseman in that system. Dano's a tremendous defensive center, can also put up some points. And for a while, wasn't he like their 1C or something like that? That's where they were at. I mean, like, I don't get there's a lot of coping going on with the Habs fan that has been going on. Now it's coming back to bite. We don't need Dano. Fuck him. That's such a weird Montreal mentality. The second someone leaves, it's like negative stuff. And like, I saw like this Twitter comment, like pointing out not Garland. He's on Vancouver. Dvorak, like his face-offs. Oh my God, his face-offs are so good. It's like, who the fuck cares? You're 0-3. And then the Sharks smashed him. Like, it's like, it just seems like they're like trying to find all these things of like, oh, we don't need all these guys you just lost. But it's like, at some point, man, you got to face reality. You got to face the music. It's like, you're not a good Dano. You could probably use.
Oh, hold on, Sin. You're going a little bit robotic here for the first time on the show.
I see that. I don't.
Hey, it's only happened once so far.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, who knows what happens in the afternoon. But yeah, it's like, you could probably use a Dano. You could probably even use a Kotkaniemi, even if it's just for $6 million. I mean, fuck, what else? I mean, hey, maybe you can draft another center in the top 3 this year. Montreal, have fun.
And your thoughts as another member of a rival fan base?
You know, I think this is what you get for celebrating like you won the cup after winning 1 game. That's all I'm gonna say. But honestly, I think there's a lot of it's like the honeymoon period, like where you're just kind of like, it's right at the honeymoon. You have to go back to normal life, and you're realizing how terrible things are with certain assets gone, certain people not available. Your starting goalie's gone, even though he has a track record of not performing well until playoffs. I mean, at the end of the day, are you paying him to play in the regular season or paying him for playoffs? Because you're paying him just for playoffs, $10 million, a little too much in my opinion. And you're just looking at everything, and I don't know what they got to do. Shea Weber is almost going to retire because of his injuries and not being able to play.
Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah, I didn't even think he was gonna.
It's listed as an indefinite duration for the injury. There's a very good chance. We've seen Shea Weber play hockey for the last time, unfortunately.
And Carey Price taking the leave of absence for whatever reason he has to. I wish him the best personally. He's probably not going to hear this, but Carey, you hope you're doing well, and hopefully all goes well with you and the rest of your family.
So it's a disaster for the Habs, for the Coyotes. Things are looking up for some other teams, such as the San Jose Sharks at this point in time. There's only 2 games tonight. Bruins play the Flyers. Rasmus Ristolainen will make his debut, so the Bruins are going to win 6-2. And Vegas plays St. Louis. Vegas without Pacioretty and Mark Stone for a little bit of time. So that's another team we'll have to keep an eye on here through the early stages of the season to see if those injuries happen to cost them. So with that, everybody, we will wind things down. We thank you for joining us here on this show yet again. Again, another episode of the Tougies Take Podcast, brought to you by Manscaped. You know the deal. Code Tougie, 20% off. You can catch Endo at Endo Mills, ENDO Mills, as you would expect. Also on Twitch in the same spots at Endo Mills. Sin is on Twitter at CNYFTW.
CYN, but yeah.
CYN. There we go. I'm tired. It's been a day. CYN. He's also on Twitch. You can find him there too. And YouTube. He's everywhere. He's gorgeous. I'm going to bed. I botched the ending of this show. You can't bat 1,000. The Montreal Canadiens have taught me anything. At least I've had a hit this season.
There you go. Got him.
And if the got more hits than the Boston Red Sox in Game 5, let's go Braves. And, God, we will see you all this Friday after the Bruins dunk on the Flyers while wearing their beautiful third jerseys, as I just found out. It's going to be a good time. Beautiful. Gentlemen, it was a good show. Either one of you want to take the step up for the final word, or are we just going to end this on a deal? Endo, end the show. I'm going to toss it over to Endo. Endo, you end the show today.
Okay. So I've been waiting for this to end, this train ride to end. No breaks, because I have buttered chicken. It's probably cold now. There we go. Perfect. Just gonna, for the visual learners, just a nice buttered chicken. Take a look. It's beautiful. I just dumped rice on it.
Is that a fucking mountain of cheese on it? What is that?
That's rice.
Oh, okay. It looked like a mountain of Parmesan or grated mozzarella, and I was just like, what are they doing up there? I know you got some weird gravy fries, but
Gravy fries. That's poutine.
Yeah.
God
Still need
forbid.
to try. I'm just jealous I haven't tried it. That's it.
God forbid our one Montreal listener, Rahil, he's not even from Montreal, he's from Scarborough. It's not.
Well, this has been
a
very great Endo the show.
Yeah, that's me.
See you later this week, everybody. Goodbye.
Good.